This is the inside of my closet at my house. It's a space that's oddly representative of my life and identity as a musician. It's really because of something that I keep in my closet, something that's sitting right over there and that I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes, because I think it helps explain or suggest or contextualize why I continue to make music in relative obscurity in 2025 under conditions that feel honestly pretty inhospitable to music as an art form, or at least to the kind of music that I'm making. In this video, I'm going to explain some of those doom and gloom sentiments. I'm going to show you what's sitting over here, and I'm going to talk about how all that relates to how I conceive of the art that I'm making. And before I do any of that, I'm going to get into a more comfortable position. I recognize and appreciate that music continues to have an important role in modern culture. And I think that would be obvious to anybody who's spent any time on TikTok or Instagram or reading articles about tours that generate millions upon millions of dollars of income for the artists and their crew. And it's equally, if not more obvious, that people still care about making music. You can Google the most recent statistics about this, but there are more people making and releasing more songs every day than ever before in the history of human civilization. I'm sure some of those releases are purely cynical, or they're 89% AI or whatever, but it's safe to assume that some significant portion of those people releasing all that music give a shit about what they're doing. I'm one of those people, and I do give a shit about the music that I make and that I release. But over the last year, and especially over the last couple of months, I keep finding myself face to face with a fundamental question about what I'm doing, which is simply, why am I continuing to make music and to put it out into the world? I don't make music professionally, and I don't generate any meaningful income from the music and videos that I produce. And I'm not really comfortable leaning on the touchy-feely reasons that I would have given when I was 16, because I love the music, because it speaks to me, because I have something inside me that I want to express. There's a laundry list of those kinds of reasons, and they are real reasons. But I don't think they really explain why an adult man would spend hour after hour of his limited free time writing and recording and releasing original music. And not just any music. I'm influenced primarily, almost entirely, by styles of music that aren't really relevant to the cultural mainstream, and that don't really reflect the technological and cultural and philosophical innovations that have occurred in my lifetime and that honestly have influenced me. In this way, I'm kind of an anachronism, and it's not the only way. I mean, my channel is primarily devoted to videos about multitrackers and DAWless recording, all these sort of techniques that are either truly old-fashioned or designed kind of to emulate an old-fashioned experience. I'm really drawn to those devices and like using them, just like I'm drawn to the styles of music that inspired me to pick up guitar in the first place and that continue to inspire me to write, notwithstanding how distant they seem from whatever the viral hit is today. I don't want this to become like a dissertation on the decline of monoculture, but I am aware of the fact that the music and the art that I am most invested in, both as a listener and also as a creator, isn't really in the same universe as the stuff that most other people are listening to. On some level, I really long for connection to something bigger than what I am feeling or trying to express. And the funny thing is that when I reflect on what I was thinking and feeling when I began playing guitar or writing songs, I think that longing was always there, even if it was kind of latent or hidden. And the easiest way for me to explain is with an example. Trapped with me in this closet next to the dress clothes that I almost never wear, there are a few shelves that contain personal mementos. And as you can probably see, many of those mementos are CDs. I mean, take, for example, this CD. It's a CD that my dad bought when I was single digits in age, and that he kept in his car for a really long time. And we listened to it all the time, to the point that some of the songs on this CD were, at that particular time, my favorite songs in the world. I mean, Diamond Girl by Seals and Crofts, Black Water by the Doobie Brothers, and especially Still the One by Orleans. We've been together since way back when. These are songs that I loved, and they influenced the way that I related to other music that I continued to discover as I was alive and experiencing the world. Things like this 2-CD set of classics from the band Led Zeppelin. I got this for Christmas in 2003, shortly after I started playing guitar, and the songs on this set genuinely changed my life. They revolutionized everything that I thought about music that I knew was possible in the world of music, and inspired me to try to get involved in that. I mean, before this, that didn't even seem possible, but suddenly I found myself thinking, if I can just get these notes under my fingers, I can make something that might matter. This music was and is important to me. Important enough that I seek out particular versions of these songs, important enough that I keep a bunch of them stuffed here in my closet. And though a lot of time has passed since I was listening to Ventura Highway in my dad's car, the sounds and the spirit of that music continue to resonate with me when I make my own music. Okay, this is starting to get real tight. I gotta get out of here. My relationship with all of the music that's hiding there in my closet, I think, helps explain one of the answers to the big question that I posed to myself earlier in this video: why do I make music? I think deep down, what I'm trying to do is take part in a tradition, not an obvious tradition like the oral tradition that would have passed something like the Iliad down generation by generation. I mean a broader tradition of expressing the human experience, the human spirit, knowledge, wisdom, all the things that humans have to express in a very specific manner. And in the world of physical art, I think it's pretty common to think of particular styles of creation as a tradition that you can either pick up and carry forward or move away from. And that applies if you're a 19th century painter trying to paint like Michelangelo, or if you're a person living in rural Georgia trying to make pottery and use a very specific glaze that you learned from your grandmother. In those cases, the artist is informed by tradition. They are trying to be a part of a style of making shit that came before them and that resonates with them. Now, in my experience, in the context of music, tradition is usually used in a much more narrow sense. Like if you perform traditional folk music by carrying forward songs that were written many, many years ago. But I think it's fair to look back on things of the past, whether they're particular styles of music or manners of making music, and view them as traditional. And the more I think about the music that I'm making, what I'm really trying to accomplish, what really motivates me when I make decisions as a writer and recorder, producer type person, I think I'm motivated by a desire to continue the tradition of the music that was most important to me. Now, that makes sense to me on a gut level because from the beginning, I have been inspired by or emulated specific artists. I've tried to learn what they did and how they did it and integrate it into my playing. And I didn't do it in a self-conscious way, but I was identifying something that I knew was specific to a particular artist or era, and then trying to find a way to integrate that into what I was doing today or that day. And that process of connecting past to present seems traditional in the same way that people carry forward family traditions. They're usually not making like a one-for-one copy of the tradition. They usually like modify it a little bit because they're a different person than their mother, father, grandmother, or grandfather, but they are bringing it forward into the present, and they are aware of the relationship between present and past. That's how I've always felt in relation to the music that I loved, including sometimes music that wasn't that old. To some of you, that may sound like a very specific and narrow way of thinking about the world, and it probably is, but for whatever reason, in recent weeks, this perspective has been an extraordinary comfort to me. Because now I can look back on my songs and notice things that I didn't notice before. Whether I'm clapping and shouting to create the sound of a one-man frat party, adding a wah pedal to make a guitar solo especially epic. Or recording Americana-flavored music with an old cassette Portastudio. I can see those choices as honoring and carrying forward the traditions that touched my life and that I think are important. And I recognize that that's a limitation that I place on myself, a limitation on what's possible. And I also recognize that my traditions are very specific and that I may feel disconnected from the larger music culture precisely because I'm trying to uphold those traditions. But those caveats don't make me feel any less conviction about what I'm doing. And maybe this concept of upholding and carrying forward traditions of sound and style helps explain why so many other people continue to make and release music into a world that isn't showering them with praise or attention. Let me know in the comments if any of that resonates with you. And if you are carrying forward any musical traditions, tell me about them, where you discovered them, and how they influence what you do day to day as a writer or recording person. The traditions that I'm trying to uphold have been front and center as I finished recording this now month-late Christmas song. But as I wrote and recorded specific parts, I found myself calling on specific traditions. Whether it's an old rockabilly or country-style 1-5-1-5 bass line, or an electric guitar part with a bunch of moving sixths, which some people might associate with Brown Eyed Girl, but I actually associate with Robbie Robertson's playing when he was in Then the Hawks backing Bob Dylan in 1966, or even trying my hand at harmonica, an instrument that I love but barely know how to play. Now, each of those parts worked and felt good and sounded good in the context of the specific song that I was recording, but they also felt good because I knew there was a relationship between what I was doing in the moment and the music that I love and that has influenced me. I really felt like I was in and honoring the tradition that matters to me. I liked that feeling, and I'm going to try to keep this perspective in mind as I work on more music in 2025. I hope I feel as connected to that music as I do to this particular new song, which, because it's a Christmas song, is also basically all about tradition. I've obviously had tradition on the brain. I know it's no longer the holiday season, but the song is going to play at the end of this video. I'd love for you to stick around and let me know what you think. But even if you decide to drop off now, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you around.
This year our lights hang on different trees, but there's a star both of us can see. Broken needles at my feet, swept in memories. I believe